It's an Arkansas AgCast first. Plus, we have the legislative updates for the session, and we'll talk ag exports all on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John McMinn.
How about that? Little update.
Yeah.
We're back. We're
Still cold.
You're official now. You passed your 90-day probationary period.
So that's over. I'm excited to know that.
Over.
Yeah.
How about that?
You're locked in now. You can't go anywhere. So.
I was thinking, I don't know if this is going to work out.
Yeah. Well, listen. I want to tell you, the reviews are in, and you've come in and stolen the show.
Oh, no, that's not me. I'm just happy to be here.
Well,
I'm just an economist.
Yeah, well, you say that, but you did have a pretty big moment on the show for this week, I should say.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I thought that was pretty cool. You want to tell them what it was?
Sure. Mr. McMahon interviewed a first for us for the Arkansas AgCast. We had a sitting U.S. Senator here on the show.
Yeah.
You got to have that interview.
Yeah. What is it? Only it's a few weeks or a handful of weeks that I've been here, like we mentioned, and now I'm already interviewing senators. So
yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
You have rocketed to the top.
Amongst other things that have been going on here at Farm Bureau the last few weeks, yes, I got to interview a senator, an active sitting senator,
and you did a fine job.
Thank you.
The senator came with a live studio audience.
Yes.
Of course, people are just generally interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, the staff that travel with him. And
usually there's only, 4 of us in here in the room that day interviewing a senator.
Yeah.
My first interview, again, was a senator. Just if y'all did catch that.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
And I had an audience in here. So it was a little nerve-wracking there, but kind of got into my groove there.
Somebody pulled some strings because it was like a reasonable temperature in here also while he was here.
Yeah.
It's anything but reasonable temperature in here right now.
It's colder in the mornings. We were doing it, or in the afternoons, I guess. It seems like it just keeps getting colder and colder as the day goes. So.
In July, I'll really appreciate this room.
That's
in August.
Matthew said something similar earlier. He's like, used to we had lights that would really heat things up, but even the technology and lights have sort of taken the heat out. Let me see what else. We weren't here last week, and I kind of missed doing the show.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I know we were together in D.C. and we had a great trip there. We were down there up there for issues advisory committee meetings at American Farm Bureau. Big thanks to the farmer leaders who made the trip to take part in that: Michael Lee, Trent Dabbs, Chase Groves, Dustin Cowell, Heath Donner. Yep. I don't think I left anybody off the list.
No.
And then, and then we had a number of staff there too to provide support, sit in on the meetings that weren't covered, things like that.
And if people aren't aware, Issue Advisory Committee is kind of the national level of our commodity division meetings. So instead of being soybeans or specialty crops, whatever they may be, the Issue Advisory Committee, or what that stands for, is issues like in federal lands or water rights or market structures, you name it.
Yeah, and specifically our leadership, we're sitting in on meetings on the topics of animal health, budget and economy, federal lands, technology, and farm policy. I know I sat in on an energy meeting. I'm sure you sat in on a couple of others as well, along with other staff. So anyway, good representation. Like you said, it's sort of the beginning of the policy development process at that national level.
Same much kind of format.
Much like our meetings here were. So thanks to those guys for making the trip, taking the time away from their operations to be a part of that process. And it was really informative. I learned a lot. And speaking of those winter commodity meetings, we had those yesterday.
Yep.
You want to share anything special from that?
I'm not wanting to brag on myself, but we did have to knock down a wall in the hotel to get more people in our specialty crop meeting yesterday.
I heard that.
And we ran out of time. The discussion wanted to keep on going, and we just didn't have enough time to talk about everything that we wanted to talk about. So that was, you could say that's an issue, but I think that's a good thing. We've got more discussion going on in that room in that meeting than we ever have.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more participation than we've really had in the past. So that was exciting.
Do you think that's because of more growers interested in, sort of the conversations that we've got going on here from policy perspective, or are we seeing more growers in that space, or both? Or
I think everything is driven by demand and trickles down from consumer demand. And what in the last 10, 20 years we're seeing is local foods and people being more concerned about where their food's coming from.
Yeah.
And the support of local producers in the state. And if consumers are demanding that, then the farmers will answer that, whether that's growing more or more farmers coming to the market.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. I mean, to see that crowd in there, and you guys were the last that meeting was right before lunch, and you were the last to let out. And it was, I mean, like you said, the conversation was really pretty active.
Yeah, I think in our summer division meetings, we won't have any presenters this time. We're just going to sit down and talk, and hash things out. So I'm excited about that.
Well, that's awesome. I sat in on a couple of row crop meetings. I know we also had the first meeting of our small ruminants commodity division. Big deal. So congrats to those guys for having a good meeting. From what I could hear, it was record turnout or close to it. I mean, everybody just kept going on and on about the attendance at the meeting.
I thought it really was. So. And I don't think anybody showed up at the embassy from what I heard since we were at the Wyndham.
Yeah. Well,
and the fried chicken was good.
I was going to say there was a lot of bragging about the lunch.
Was there?
The fried chicken and the smoked mac and cheese.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you were there, thanks for making the time to come out. If you weren't, please try and join us next year, I guess. Let me see. Oh, something that came up yesterday. Huck Plyler.
Yeah.
He and his classmates have got a pretty cool project going on. As I understand it, everybody in the class brings in a podcast for the class to listen to, and then talk about what were the topics they discussed and how did they go about doing it, things like that.
Yep.
And down in Hempstead County, I heard yesterday that their class chose the Huck chose the Arkansas AgCast.
Well, how about that?
To be the podcast for the classroom.
Wow. Thanks, Huck.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening down there in Hempstead County, Huck, thank you for making the Arkansas AgCast part of that process. And we're thankful to you guys for listening.
We're happy to be in the classroom and
being
a part of the learning experience for sure.
Now listen to your teacher and do what she says.
Pay attention.
And bring us some square pizza.
Yeah, I miss some square pizza.
Actually, cinnamon roll. You get pizza, I'll get cinnamon roll.
Man, we had the best donuts at my school lunch.
Yeah?
And then macaroni and cheese with ham in it. That might be really weird, but
no, I don't think that's
my
weird
elementary school, that's
Yeah.
what I miss the most.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I think mac and cheese is just a vehicle.
Yeah.
Brisket, lobster, whatever ham, whatever you want to put in it.
Now in high school, the big day was chicken nugget day. I mean, if you didn't get there in time, you weren't going to make it to class after lunch.
Really?
Yeah, or you just weren't going to eat chicken nuggets.
Oh man, we I don't know. I don't know that we had anything that was other than your classic stuff like we.
What's your favorite school lunch? How about that?
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about. I mentioned school cinnamon rolls, but it is National Chili Day. For those of you interested, it's a little warm for chili today. Tomorrow, I think, will be a great chili day. But I've got a question for you too. You may know what it is, but chili. Brian, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Do beans belong in chili?
Oh, I love it with beans in it.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like a couple different beans?
Specific beans?
Whatever. Yeah. Do you have a bean choice?
Is it like one bean or variety of beans? Or?
Variety. You can do variety. It's good.
Just put them in there.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it that way.
I like beans too.
Yeah.
But I'll eat it without beans.
Right.
Same here. Not. I don't care when it comes to, I mean, beans, sure, but like I have forgotten them before, and got ragged pretty good for making meat soup or something.
Yeah.
Of that nature, you know, but
I draw the line when you start adding other things.
Corn.
See,
taco soup. That's not chili.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you put corn in it, it turns to soup.
Yeah.
But they're no, it's still chili. I'm
now,
like, no.
A buddy of mine taught me a trick that I like. My wife doesn't necessarily like it, but he goes half ground beef, half Italian sausage, and I started making mine like that.
Okay.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like it?
Oh, yeah. I've even done chorizo before. It's a little different, but it's good.
Yeah.
We do deer chili. It's
for sure.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah. Well, so to this point, talking about DC a minute ago, we were there having dinner, and Mac brings up this topic that I want to bring to the podcast. I made a mental note while we were at dinner.
Trying to trigger me, I think.
I know. He says, not a question, a hot take, I'll say. Chili does not belong on the soup menu.
Ooh.
That'll get the head spinning, won't it?
Oh, man.
You can't derail my thought there.
See, he is immovable.
Yeah.
Well, that took it a step further from the do you add corn or do you add beans?
Yeah.
That can start a fight with most folks.
So it was pretty interesting. Do you have thoughts on that?
I could be swayed.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you ever had chili soup?
No.
I'm just asking.
Whoa,
I've had soupy chili.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a well-made point.
It is a well-made point.
I can't find a hole in the argument. So anyway, I want to bring that up because it kind of blew
I feel
my mind.
Seinfeld episode coming on because it's I'm just going to order soup. Soup is not a meal. Now chili can be a meal.
Chili's a meal.
See there?
And it's consistency is
wasn't that part of the argument, I think, was that chili can be a meal on its own.
Oh yeah, totally.
I don't know.
Totally. Very filling.
And if you've ever had chili soup, let me know.
Yeah. Beans belong in it.
Okay.
Chili doesn't belong on the soup menu. I think the last thing we'll mention, and I apologize, I meant to do this to say something about this before we got to the chili, was a shout out to Brad and Tara Peacock. They were made a trip to Wisconsin last week and were named 2023 National Outstanding Young Farmers.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Super exciting.
It's a big deal.
Making that venture, from White County, Arkansas, all the way to Wisconsin, and such a big honor. So anyway, congrats to you guys. Hats off. I know there's a lot of work that's come with that. So we just wanted to recognize that here on the podcast too. All right. Well, we got a busy show. We've got the interview with Senator John Boozman that will play here shortly. But we wanted to kick off the show today with our legislative update segment, bringing you the latest news impacting agriculture at the state capitol. Both the House and Senate reconvened on Monday afternoon, marking the 7th week of the 94th session of the General Assembly. As of this week, we're tracking 44 bills, including 4 that address our policy priorities. It's been a busy session with 823 bills filed as of earlier this.
Wow.
Yeah, as of earlier this week. So House Bill 1336 is one we've mentioned several times on the show and allows the Division of Elementary and Secondary Education to create an ag education pilot program in public elementary schools after required consultation with industry stakeholders. That bill was set to go before the House Education Committee this week. I happened to talk to Lindsey Rucker, who testified to the committee on behalf of that bill. And there have been some updates, but I apologize, I'm not all the way current on this. But that bill is moving forward. House Bill 1182, which would allow additional roles and scope for practice for vet tech specialists to provide care to animals under the indirect supervision of a veterinarian. This is all based on animal care policy we have here at Farm Bureau. We're supportive of this bill. It's passed the House. It's passed the Senate, I believe, with an amendment. So I think it's headed back. But anyway, that or maybe headed to the governor's desk, actually. So that bill is making some progress. Moving on to Senate Bill 191, a bill that would repeal provisions that require members of the state plant board to be appointed from lists of candidates submitted by industry groups. The House passed the bill on February 16th. with the emergency clause adopted from there. It returned to the Senate, is passed and ordered enrolled.
Okay.
House bill, I think that's. Let me see. I'm sorry, I was going to add one more, but I think that wraps us up for this week. Had a duplicate in there. We're tracking this stuff every day. If you're not part of our legislative update email list, those go out on Mondays and Fridays, so we'll have a new one out tomorrow.
Yep.
It's busy at the Capitol, so these things are constantly changing. It really is a busy month.
Busy.
Had that conversation with a few folks yesterday, but it is meeting season, especially for our row crop farmers who are getting ready to head back. Anyhow, well, that's what we got for the legislative update. Let's take a quick break, and before we get into the conversation with Senator Boozman.
Arkansas farmers and ranchers work 7 days a week. That means when you hit the road, you may be sharing it with farm equipment, especially if you're traveling along rural roads and county highways. Farm equipment moves slower than our pickup trucks and minivans. They may not have the safety lights and turn signals of our family vehicles either. The trucks and tractors moving down the road need extra room to make turns, cross bridges, and move through intersections too. We all get in a hurry sometimes, but it's important that we all stay safe, no matter if we're headed to buy groceries or grow them. So next time you're cruising past a pasture or field, keep an eye out for farmers. They'll be sure to keep an eye out for you too. If we all work together, we can make sure Arkansas is cultivating safe roads.
You may find yourself on the road with a farmer moving hay this time of year, and soon we'll see row crop implements out there too. Let's just all be sure to help one another cultivate safe roads.
Wow. We're so honored to note Senator Boozman, first for the AgCast, welcoming a sitting U.S. Senator on the show today. I'm joined by, for those of you listening, Senator John Boozman, who truly needs no introduction, of course, with farmers and ranchers in Arkansas and well beyond. That said, a couple of notable things about you, Senator. You currently serve as ranking member of the Senate Ag Committee. You're the most recent recipient of the Golden Plow Award, which is the highest honor presented to a sitting member of Congress by the American Farm Bureau.
And I'm very, very, very proud of that.
Well, we're happy to award, or I guess American Farm Bureau was happy to award you that, I'm sure. You're also certainly a friend of Arkansas farmers and ranchers, and as well Arkansas Farm Bureau. So welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. And again, as you said, the Arkansas, the American Farm Bureau did award me with the Golden Plow, and that was truly a great honor and something that I have in a very special place. I look at it periodically and know that Mr. Zippy is wondering what I'm doing.
You got it up there in a nice little spot on the shelf so it shines when he walks in.
Exactly.
Yeah, he can't miss it. Yeah. Well, now you're able to join us here on the studio because you're back in the district, doing some more important work with Arkansas farmers this week here in Arkansas. You're hosting listening sessions in Fort Smith and Monticello to understand the needs of producers in the upcoming Farm Bill. We're grateful to have had the opportunity to be a part of those meetings, of course. That said, we do have a few questions for you about the Farm Bill and the work on the committee. Is that okay if we ask you a few of these questions?
Any easy questions you want to ask is fine with me.
Okay, I'll try to keep the brain busters down.
Our plan is we were in Fort Smith today in the 3rd District, being Monticello tomorrow in the 4th District. We're planning on hitting all 4 districts.
Good.
Just to make sure that we do our very, very best to have people represented from all over the state with different needs, different crops, different issues, different things with food security.
Yeah.
Making sure that again all of those are represented, and so that's the plan.
Yeah, it's a diverse group we have here in the state and the agriculture, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we'll start off with the first question. So, like I said, you're back in the district working on the Farm Bill. So tell me what you hope to achieve by having these conversations with your constituents.
Well, I really believe that the answers to our problems come from the ground up. Mm-hmm. So these are individuals that are out there fighting the battle. What I want to do is hear the problems that they're having, and that might be from a input cost whatever, the regulatory burden that they're under, and then the good things that are happening.
Absolutely.
And a lot of things that we can do with the Farm Bill don't necessarily cost money. It's just making the farmer, the producer, his life a little bit easier.
A little less burdensome sometimes. A little less
burdensome. And a lot of that is the regulatory burden. It's forms that are too complicated. It's just things that we just need to do a better job of on the government end.
Yeah. I really like the fact that you said that it's from the ground up, because that's how we work here at Farm Bureau. It's grassroots operations. So that's great. So next question. Can you share some of the feedback you've received on this Farm Bill listening tour so far, and how does that align with conversations you've had with colleagues in D.C.?
Well, it aligns very well. There's concern. One of the things that came up today that I've heard a lot about in the last couple of years, we're having all of these 100, 200-year climate episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Only we're having them every year.
Yes, sir.
And so as a result of that, we as a Congress have distributed a lot of drought aid, mm-hmm. a lot of aid for all kinds of different reasons.
Yep.
Drought, flooding, and everything in between. That has been dependent on Congress just kind of coming together and say, yeah, this is bad enough, we'll give some aid. It's a slipshod approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other problem is once we actually get it done, it might take a couple of years for the farmer to get it. So we've got to work and try and figure out how we can come up with a better system, how we can make that part of the safety net. And so we're working on that and trying to get good advice as to exactly what we need to do in that direction.
Well, I'm sure producers here in the state would really appreciate that, because we've got on both ends, it seems like there's a severe weather event, the spring, summer, fall, whether it was the drought, like you said, in the summer this year, and the flooding a few springs before that. So Arkansas is a unique state when it comes to weather.
It is, and we're also a very diverse state as far as needs.
Mm-hmm.
In Fort Smith, we heard from a lot of cattle producers
mm-hmm.
in that area, a lot of poultry.
Yes,
and so they're new to actually participating in some of the safety net programs. Our row crop,
of course,
growers are much more attuned to that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having problems figuring out. We need to do a better job. We had a county agent there that was very, very good. We really appreciate their work, the great job that they do. Poultry, cattle, some of our specialty crops, again, they're not as attuned
mm-hmm.
to the system, and that's something that we need to help them.
Yeah, it could be a little difficult for some others.
A little bit difficult as they learn how to interact.
Yeah. Well, what can farmers around the country do to encourage their members to pass Farm Bill this year?
Well, the good news is, in the last Farm Bill, we had, I believe, 86 votes, 87, 86 votes, around that,
okay.
Which you get that many votes on anything. That's a huge success.
Yeah.
I think only 20 members in the House voted against it. So one of the problems we got is there aren't very many farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only do we have to educate the public as to why it's so important, and I think they do understand that, especially with food inflation.
Yeah,
understanding that even though prices here have become higher, we still have the safest, cheapest food supply of any place in the world, and how important it is to keep those prices low. But not only the public, we have to educate fellow members of Congress.
Of course.
And so we're working hard to do that. But as far as your listeners, they just need good news in Arkansas, is we're in good shape. Our members are going to come through. And so just being active in a lot of people wear a lot of different hats, lots of different associations, being
mm-hmm.
active in those associations. The one thing now as we go into this Farm Bill is farmers need to stand together.
Of course.
So we're going to come up with a Farm Bill that I think is going to be a very good Farm Bill. It's not going to be as good as everybody would like. It never is.
No.
But what we want to do is make sure that it's not a one-size-fits-all, that it respects the regions of the country, the different commodities.
Yeah.
So that we bring everybody together to get this done. That's really what it takes is agriculture sticking together.
Well, good. Well, like you kind of mentioned before, Arkansas agriculture is a very diverse industry. How do you, as ranking member, approach the Farm Bill issues with such a diverse representation here in the state?
Well, it takes the wisdom of Solomon to just deal with the Farm Bill in general. But Arkansas is no different than the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so this really isn't about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. It's about Southern agriculture versus the I's, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana. The Great Plains are different. California is different.
Yep.
So it's getting all of those different regions and then the various commodities. Cotton farmers have different problems than people that are growing rice or corn or peanuts or specialty crops. I mentioned earlier, our poultry producers, our cattle producers, they're all different. And so what we've got to do is listen, figure out what they need, and then do our best to come forward and put something together. And then the other thing, too, that we've listened to are the people that are in the business of helping people that don't have enough food.
Yeah, of course.
Nutrition programs, which is, as you know, is really the primary aspect of the Farm Bill. This Farm Bill right now, the way it's scoring is agriculture's probably 16 to 20%, and the rest of it is food stamps and the nutrition program.
Most people probably wouldn't even realize that's in the Farm Bill.
They don't really, we talk about a Farm Bill, but the Farm Bill is really a very, very small part of the actual big bill.
Yeah. Well, the Ag Committee has some members who aren't necessarily as in touch with agriculture as you are in particular. How do you plan to bring your colleagues along in a way that's beneficial to farmers?
Well, I think we do have a lot of people on the Ag Committee that aren't as attuned to farming, that are more attuned to the nutrition program. So it's just a matter of educating them. I do think I've really been encouraged in visiting with my Republican colleagues, visiting with my Democrat colleagues. People understand that this is not just about farmers. It's not just about nutrition. This is 25% of our state's GDP. If you go to Ohio, it's 25%. It's probably 40% in the Dakotas.
Yep.
It's not near that much in California, but California has such a huge GDP.
It's a big state.
It is, and they can grow anything. Their farm, even though it's smaller, it's as great as any. It's probably great as most, many countries. So anyway, it's just a matter of making sure that they understand it, and for the most part, I think they do. This is all about rural America, because when you get outside of any town of any size, it's 85 or 90%. We've got 75 counties, probably 52 or 53 of those lost population in this last census. Agriculture is all that's left. We've lost our manufacturing. So not only is the agriculture about farmers who represent those areas, but it's also about helping with the rural infrastructure through water programs, broadband, helping with our community hospitals, all that it takes to make sure that we have a vibrant rural America. So the good news is, I think that we are doing a good job of educating Congress that we're not just talking about putting safety nets in place for farmers. It's all of this, and it is a huge part of the economy of almost all of our states.
Yeah, it's a much bigger picture about just how much agriculture affects or indirectly contributes to other industries across the state and across the country as well, right?
Very much. And one of the things we didn't get a chance to talk about it much this morning, probably more tomorrow with our row crops. 40% of the things that we grow are exported.
Yes.
So making sure that we develop putting in place some programs, making sure that we develop those foreign markets is so very important.
Oh, yeah. A crop like soybeans is very dependent on that export market, especially when the river was so low this year.
Yeah, very much.
How do you think your relationship with Chairwoman Stabenow will benefit the process of passing a new farm bill?
We've got a really good relationship, and we've done some things together, and I think both of us realize that if we don't work together, things simply don't get done. And so we were able to put in place this Growing Climate Solutions Act, which is good. Wasn't so good when we started looking at it, but we worked together and we made it where it is good. What it's going to do is give farmers more tools in their toolbox that if they want to, on a voluntary basis, they want to get into the carbon credit markets and things like that in the private sector, they'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Again, the operative word there is voluntary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're not going to hook, we're not going to hook climate programs with the safety nets, crop insurance, ARC, PLC. For me, that's a red line.
Yeah,
we simply aren't going to do that. But the rest of your question too, we were able to do that. We were able to beef up. One of the problems that we've got with nutrition programs is we do a great job during the school year, then summer comes.
Yeah.
So you don't have the infrastructure in place to do as good a job. And so we really had some areas where young people were falling through the cracks, and we were able to work together, to do that. So we've done a number of things together, big things, but they don't get done unless we work together, Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, it takes everybody, doesn't it?
It takes everybody.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to, I'm going to ease up on the hard questions now. Here on the show, we usually have kind of a fun question at the end of our little interviews and segments. So what I have for you today is you had an opportunity to play with one of the most well-known coaches, or under one of the most well-known coaches in college football history, Coach Frank Broyles. So my question is, what did you learn from Coach or on the field with the Razorbacks that goes with you as an elected official now?
Well, I learned a lot of things. I learned the value of being part of a team, working together. When you work together as opposed to doing your own thing, you can get a lot of things done. And I mentioned earlier, agriculture needs to stick together. I also learned that you can get through adversity. It gets pretty tough out there in practice and on the field.
It's hot.
So just a lot of life lessons. And then Coach Broyles always would say that there's two kinds of people. There's givers and there's takers, and you need to be a giver. So it was a tremendous experience. I was blessed. I was around some great coaches. Coach Broyles was the head coach. My offensive line coach was actually Joe Gibbs.
Okay, yeah.
Who went on to do great things for the Washington Redskins, won a bunch of Super Bowls, and truly was one of the greatest coaches that has been in recent generations. So lots of good experiences, a lot of good things. I would say this. I tell him that he should give me part of his retirement because myself and 2 or 3 others were so uncoachable.
You were hard to deal with, huh?
We were hard to deal with. He left college football and went to the pros.
Yeah.
Because of his experience with us. So well, the sad thing is, if he were here, he would agree with it.
Would he? Well, Senator, I really appreciate your time. That's all the questions I have for you today. I know our members and staff here really appreciate the time you've taken to meet with us today.
No, thank you. And we really appreciate Farm Bureau, the great work that they do, and just kind of helping to coordinate in so many different ways. I think we've got a great opportunity as we come upon this farm bill and getting it done. And it is going to take all of us sticking together, working hard to get done. But we're in a situation now because of these very high interest rates, high input costs, and the list goes on and on. We need to help our farm community and again, rural America as we go forward. So we've got a great opportunity to do that, and we're going to be working really hard to get it over the finish line.
Well, good. Thank you so much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Make Coach Broyles proud.
First of all, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
What are you, 5-6 weeks into this gig?
Something
and
like that.
I've
lost count.
Interviewed a sitting U.S. senator.
Been here so long, you're not going to let me go.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty amazing, man. And you guys had that conversation was, super informative and to understand the thought process. Not only, that for the Farm Bill, which impacts not only Arkansas farmers, but farmers all across the country.
Yeah, and just how engaged he is with not only what's going on in the state, but also the other individuals he's working with on the Hill.
Yeah.
And just with political climate now, that specific thing kind of needs more unity. And I think he's really has a grasp on that. And it was really impressive sitting down listening to, just what he was focused on and what he thought was important and what's important to producers here in the state.
We talked about, I think, coming off the A-State Agribusiness Conference, how Joe Outlaw there was presenting and mentioned Senator Boozman and some of the requests they get from his office, the Senate Ag Committee office. You probably noticed Senator Boozman looked over to the side a couple of times. He had a couple folks from his team here. He's so informed, and knows the information that should guide the policies. He always wants to make sure he's getting that information correctly.
Yeah, they were the biggest audience I've had so far.
Keeping himself in
check.
Did a good
job.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't redo the intro until you finished the other day, so
Yeah. Well, that was the final.
We want to see how you did, but we made it official.
That was it. That was like my final exam.
The ACT.
I didn't do very well in the ACT. Believe it or not.
I had that conversation a lot. I'm like, I sure made it. For all the pressure they put on me taking that thing. I sure made it.
I was not a test taker by any means. Yeah.
Well, I love that we had the ability to bring that conversation to our listeners and viewers here in the state and well beyond. As ranking member of the Senate Ag Committee, that conversation with Senator Boozman provides some insight, like we were saying, to the process of the Farm Bill, all the work that's going on in D.C. right now. So anyway, it was good to just be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's right. We hope the interview is helpful for those following along with the Farm Bill conversation, of course. We'll wrap up the show with some important data from USDA, just released this morning. It's the U.S. Agricultural Trade Outlook Report.
All right.
The report, which was released this morning and is the first look at export numbers from the USDA this calendar year, and things have changed a bit since the last report in November 2022. U.S. agricultural exports in fiscal year 2023 are projected at $184.5 billion.
Wow.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Down $5.5 billion from the November forecast. The export forecast for all major commodity groups are down, with the largest decrease projected for corn, sorghum, and soybeans. The full report, which is available at ers.usda.gov, is where you can put dollars to the decrease across commodities.
Yeah.
The report notes a sharp decline in sorghum production and for soybeans. The decrease points to lower U.S. supplies and higher competition from Brazil. We heard a lot of that actually in our division meeting the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. Which we've talked about on the show recently, of course. Yeah. But also cotton exports are also forecast to be down on lower volumes.
Okay.
Moving away from row crops, the report notes that livestock, poultry, and dairy exports are forecasted to decrease by $900 million. As declines in beef, poultry, and dairy exports more than often offset increases in pork exports.
Okay. Yep.
According to the report, China is forecast to remain the largest market for the U.S. agricultural exports at $34 billion, unchanged from previous forecasts. That's pretty interesting because we had at the IAC meetings in Washington, D.C., we had an economist come in that said the same exact thing.
Really? So he knew it before USDA?
Yeah, and he kind of outlined how dependent we are, as well as other countries across the world, on exports to China.
Yeah.
Exports to Mexico are forecast to remain unchanged at $28 billion, while exports to Canada are forecast down $500 million on lower corn demand.
Okay.
Which we've talked about some of that recently.
Yep.
Wrapping up, the report brings up a bit of good news for the world and U.S. economies as a whole, noting that the global economic outlook for 2023 has moderately improved since the last forecast in November 2022, as downside risks of recession have lessened. Inflation has begun to ease globally, particularly in the United States, but remains elevated.
Yeah.
Economic growth is expected to remain steady, but at a slower pace than in recent years. This is the last report on U.S. ag trade until May 31st. We'll sure bring that information back to the show when temps are much warmer and crops are in the ground here in the state. So kind of be looking out for that, and we'll have that for you.
Yeah, that information about the economy is something too that we've covered here. I think in the last inflation or interest rate hike, we reported on some of that brighter signs around the inflation conversation or recession conversation at least. So that's a good one. For sure. All right. Well, I guess we've taken a lot of time. Again, it's been a long show. Apologize for that, but some good stuff today. But how about we wrap up things with Brian and put this episode on the shelf?
Okay.
You have any chili facts for us?
Yeah.
I do not. I could look some up real quick, but I was not prepared for chili. So
yeah,
although it is chilly in here,
I'm uncomfortable. I'm gonna be honest with you.
you
hold the shakes back.
You got Matthew.
I'm watching Invisible laugh to my right here. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's funny.
Well, we went 0 for 3 last time. So I thought about giving you an easy one just to kick off so you at least have one.
Yeah.
So you want an easy one?
I would appreciate it.
So we can start that way.
I may get
at
this
least.
one wrong.
So, all right.
Don't go too heavy on the easy.
I'll throw you an easier one. How far can you walk into the woods?
As far as you want.
Till you hit the first tree.
Well, I thought it was. This is a shout out to my dad. This is one of his favorites.
Okay.
But, halfway.
Help me.
Yeah.
After that, you're walking out.
Oh my goodness.
Dad jokes.
See there?
That's up there with what can we not eat for breakfast.
What has a bottom at the top?
What has a bottom at the top? I'm terrible.
I don't know.
These.
Give us a hint.
Yeah.
Your legs.
Stop it.
And true shout out to Seinfeld once again. We'll end with this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poor people have it. Rich people need it. If you eat it, you die. What is it?
I don't know.
It's too cold to really critically think in here.
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh, well,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Show about nothing.
Yeah,
Man,
show about
I'm going to have to
nothing.
take that first one back. I'm going to have to steal that from you.
Yeah.
It's a classic. How far can you walk into the woods? Halfway. So, it's the same thing as where you bury survivors, you know. So
Where?
Which side? You don't bury survivors.
Oh, yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
We got to get pumped up again. I mean,
Too cold.
I'm throwing it.
I don't know, man.
I will give you that. You're freezing, your brain's not working right. So,
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
we'll let it go. But
All right. Well,
we have confirmed it is official as of today. And after all this, we are going to start labeling this segment Stump the Host.
yeah.
So
well, it's insane.
you guys have made it official.
The last two shows,
You've stumped us.
wiped us out.
So, and depending on how things go, I may start taking requests from the listeners. I may have them send it
that'd be a good
directly to me,
idea.
but more on that to come.
Okay.
We'll find out.
All right.
But anyway.
Well, you know what? Now I feel really dumb, but I've never learned so much, and then through the reporting, and then just been made feel so stupid.
I've been making these, a little more dad jokes lately,
Yeah.
but we
I
are
do
still going to
appreciate
have
that.
some ag facts and some of that stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll mix it up.
All right.
Yeah, I missed
I got to
the
keep
ag
you on
facts.
your toes. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
You know what? Before we look any sillier, that wraps up the news this week. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful to you for watching and listening.
Remember, you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday at 4 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you prefer to watch or listen. We'd appreciate it if you would take the time to leave us a review when you have 2 extra minutes.
Yeah. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by Arkansas Farm Bureau, and I'm Jason Brown.
And I'm John McMinn.
We'll see you next week.